this semi-final game between Epsilon and Millenium right here. Just wrapping up the first half, 5-3 to Millenium in this uplink. And uplink is definitely one of Millennium's strongest game modes, but we're quite shocked to see that they are 2-0 down in the series over Epsilon right now.
Yeah, it seems like they finally decided to show up on that third map, as they are currently 6-3 in the lead after 5 minutes of gameplay. But I was just flicking through the scoreboard, and there is a massive Swanee going on. It's going 21-9. It just dropped 4 kills just before we went live. But Tommy on the other end, 3-14, Reedy 4-12. What is going on? There is definitely some weird stuff going on in that Millenium team right now.
Yeah, there's not exactly the kind of scores we're used to seeing those guys put up, but it is one of those game modes that can just really escalate into situations that you're not particularly familiar with. You can find yourself getting unlucky, especially if you're going to pick up the ball. ManCave being stranded here in trays, trying to stop any movement from Epsilon. And he does manage to take down Joe. Swanee just watching this middle cut. Reedy and Moose getting kills of their own so they can start to push forward.
Yeah. Swanee just trying to stay alive and doing a pretty good job at it. However, he's got a lot of trouble. There's 2 players ahead of him, and Jerd is going to go away with the heat wave, but Mooseman is not having it. He's just going to pick up that kill, and look, the aggression is coming in from Epsilon. ManCave, last one alive, needs to make those kills happen.
Massive
It drops
play.
3.
Massive free kills from Mad Cat to keep them alive right here. This is bad pressure. Rated managing to put Mad Cat out of his comfort zone. Jerd follows up with a Semtex kill. Swanee also getting one. Jerd, another kill. No, tries to go for the third one. Moose takes him down, and Tommy has picked up the ball. And now he can get himself a good shot on this uplink. He can go for the 1-pointer here if he should choose to. Swanee just locking down the train side. Starting to get a bit more aggressive. Not usually what we see from Swanee. He's quite comfort just sitting there, being a bit more passive, but he's being urged from his teammates to go and be a bit more aggressive about it. ManCave watching Tommy's back as he pushes through the bottom barn house as he's met by Moose and taken down. Reedy also answering back onto ManCave. Game and the momentum has switched over to Epsilon's side of the camp. Swanee just watching the middle with Jerd lurking around looking for kills to slow down the approach. Here comes Reedy through tin. He's actually backed off to try and juke the Millenium outcast.
Yeah, but Rated's right there, and he wants to make those kills count. Gonna find a kill on ManCave, who had the Tempest. So good news, Tempest is out of the equation. Tommy still struggling with that Kuda. Is maybe going to be able to change his score around with the Annihilator. Let's see what he can do.
Does have that Annihilator on orange. He knows that the entire Epsilon team are pushing here. He does eventually get a kill. Swanee follows up with a second one. Moose in the middle trying to hit more shots if he possibly can. ManCave and Swanee answer back once again, and he's going to go and pick up that drone, pushing down the train side. Swanee in front just to slap anyone out of his way. Rated does hit him hard as ManCave comes flying off the wall, opens the way for Tommy to go for that 1-pointer, and it does sink in 7-3.
Well played out of Tommy, just showing that the score is not important as long as they are scoring the points, and it's exactly what they are doing in the water game out of the AR players from Millenium. Mad Cat and Swanee showing exactly why they are 2 of the best ARs in Europe. Rated so far not being able to compete with them.
Not quite the throw that Tommy was looking for. He's doing quite a baiting role here in this game.
To 2-point.
He's pretty much just looking to take the pressure off his other players and direct the fire onto him, and that's working well for him. Oh no, ManCave ruins Reedy there, and you could hear it out in the crowd. Massive kills, and they can start to capitalize on this and push down train side.
And it was so crucial because otherwise Epsilon would have been 7-5, and it would have been a very close game. Now, if you're a Millenium, you got some breathing room, and you got someone like ManCave pulling this kind of double kills. It's really, really important. Tommy is just going to stay alive there, making sure no Epsilon player can pick the ball up. However, Reedy now with the side is going to look to make some damage, spawn trap that Millenium lineup, and go for a 2-pointer. There's 1 minute 33 left on the clock. You've got to go for the 2-point.
We've just got someone watching the train cut. Here's to do push for Reedy, looking for more kills. Does finally pick up Tommy with that scythe. Watching over for the tin spawn. ManCave absolutely ruins him on that L as Moose has gotten the scraps of the uplink. He tries to go for one over the top of Granny's house. It is going to go too far over, and ManCave is going to pick that one up. With 1 minute left, all he's got to do is hold on to it and make sure that no one gets hold of it, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Run the time down, and in fact, he does go for the early reset. Maybe not the best of decisions since they're not fully in their numbers around there. However, big kill goes down, And Tommy, actually manages to pick that one up to keep the ball where it is going to be placed, and it's up to the boys from Epsilon to reset themselves.
Yeah, no, MatCat and Swanee just have to close it out, just have to keep the lanes and make sure that the Epsilon player can't go for too quick two-pointer. However, game is not over yet. Moose is trying to go through, but Tommy is going to drop him straight away. The kills are coming in from Millenium, and as every kill comes in from Millenium, it becomes even more impossible for the Epsilon lineup, and Tommy is just going to run onto that rail side, making sure that Epsilon doesn't get their hands on the drone, and it should be GG.
Yeah, he's just running the clock down right here. 20 seconds left. It's mathematically impossible for Epsilon to bring this uplink back. And those boys from Millenium continue their winning streak on uplink. They're looking very strong here. And this shall hopefully be the momentum they need to go forward in this best-of-5 series and hopefully bring it back to a Game 5.
And MatCat and Swanee definitely making the work for the Millennium lineup. 31 kills each. 62 kills with ARs onto that map. Look at Reedy going 9 and 21, struggling onto that game. Rated and Moose did the best they could, but it just wasn't enough to close out the series against Millennium. But Epsilon, they're still in the lead, 2 maps to 1. We're gonna move to CTF, which I think is a game type both teams are gonna be really good at, and they're gonna be playing it very passively, so it might not be the funniest to watch, but it's gonna be a very smart play.
It's looking very, very heated out there. I'm hearing lots of noise and arguments coming out from both of them. So both of these teams really want to win this one and prove who the better one. There's a lot for Epsilon to prove here. Obviously, they haven't had the opportunity to get to as many finals as Millennium currently have. So they're really looking to take them off and knock them off the top spot and show that they are one of the best teams in Europe. And likewise, Millennium trying to keep their top spot, show exactly how good they are. And all I can actually hear, Jonas, is just the shouting and the arguments going on out there. It's getting a little bit naughty.
It's very easy to explain. Like, Epsilon has so much to prove, and they're so vocal that they probably tried to get into Millennium's head in the first map, but don't do that. Don't do that, because Millennium, the players, they've got so much ego, and they know they're like the veterans of Europe. So they know that they don't really care what the other team's playing because they've proved everything already. So it's really gonna annoy them, and they're gonna play miles better if you try to get into the head. And once they get a map off you, like they just did, they're gonna make you pay for what you said. That's exactly what's going on right now, Trout.
Well, in Advanced Warfare, these guys teamed together quite a lot. Reedy, Joe, Rated, and ManCave were all a team for quite a long time. So there's a lot of tension between these two. They obviously want to prove that ManCave not making the right decision, leaving them to go to Millennium now. And they really want to prove exactly their worth. And these guys on Epsilon, extremely emotional. They're extremely emotional players, and they love to they love their bragging rights. They love to show how good they are at Call of Duty. Yeah,
well, I think Joe is a really quiet person, and so is Moose. But if you look at Rated and Reedy, obviously they're very famous for being kind of an emotional player. And you know, it's also because they're very passionate, you know, and they want to prove a point. So they've been trying to do so for quite a while now. And fair play to them. They've done extremely well with that Epsilon lineup, still currently standing at the 3rd place of the Pro Division presented by PS4.
Well, Moose was the one out there doing as much shouting and getting as noisy as the other players in there. Joe, yeah, I would say, fair to say, pretty quiet player. But he's quiet. He's one of those guys, he's an emotional player, but he's quiet at the same time. He doesn't need to scream and shout about it. He does what he needs to do, and he gets emotional, you know,
and I think there is a big difference between that kind of players, like Rated and Reedy. If they're happy and if they want to win, if they're hyped, they're going to play extremely well. And at the same time, Joe, no matter if he's hyped or not, is going to play well. Is that a reliable person in the team? And I think it's the same way you can compare Joe to Judd, really same kind of characters inside the game, whereas you can compare Rated to MatCat. And that's a very interesting, I think there is literally something going on here where Rated and MatCat, whoever is the most hyped, whoever wants the most to prove a point is going to be the key difference between those two teams.
Well, Epsilon play their best when they are hyped. When they're up for a game, they are really up for it, and they play their best Call of Duty that you will ever see. When it comes to Millennium, if they can get inside Epsilon's head, you know, start to wobble them a little bit, maybe question a few of the decisions they're making, like they do have that map back in their favor now, so going into the CT